All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the ASAP Sports Network, and you are watching another episode of Sportsminute. I am Ace from the West Coast. I am joined tonight by none other than J-Mac out west. How's it going tonight?
Doing good. Can't complain.
All right, and then, of course, guess what? We have a very special guest for you tonight. That's right. He goes by Mess Around Dave. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. Thanks. Let's do this.
All right. Yeah, we have some great topics for you tonight, but before we go ahead and jump into our topics, we do have a little bit of housekeeping we need to do. So the first one is we're going to do a little bit of Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry.
Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. From all of us here at the ASAP Network. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 20.
So I don't know why
we're running it twice.
Yeah, we're gonna run it twice. But I'll tell you what's interesting about it, you start hearing Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, and it really gets you going. It really takes your breath away. You got to cool yourself off, but. Before we go into our next topic anyways, we got to go ahead and jump into that little bit of the Misty Meadows with the jam and the barbecue sauce. All right, so that was that patented Misty Meadows that gets your blood boiling for some barbecue sauce and some jam, some jelly. Awesome stuff. All right, so of course, we also have, and also, we can also win one of those free T-shirts. So, J-Mac, why don't you go ahead and give me a little bit of a rundown on how you can win one of those awesome ASAP Network T-shirts.
Oh, yeah, no problem. So, look, if you're watching right now, which... if you look up in the corner, some of you are watching, so I know you can see this. You see down there where it says comment at the bottom? You comment, you click it in, comes into the show, we see it. If you also like the page or share the page, guess what? You get your name in the drawing too. And then at the end of the month, we tally those up, and you're the ASAP Viewer of the Month, and we send you one of those T-shirts ASAP.
All right, so of course, now this is the interesting thing, because of course now if people can't come on and comment or whatever, this is the interesting part. People might think, well, how can I get one of those shirts? Well, you can still get one of those shirts if you want to. It's really easy. Do you have a $20 bill in your pocket? Because if you have a $20 bill in your pocket, guess what? If it's burned in a hole, you're like, I want to buy an awesome shirt. Well, you can actually get this shirt for less than $20. It's $14.99 plus shipping and handling. So guess what? You even have a few bucks left over. Party down with that few bucks left over. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
all right.
$14.99. I just want to say, though, that apparently that's everywhere in the United States except Florida, Hawaii, and Alaska. And don't ask me why Florida's in there. I really have no idea. But Florida's a little more for shipping, and I don't know why. So I'm sorry, Floridians. It's just going to cost you a little more.
Because they don't know how to count.
We're going back to that. By the
The
way,
Florida
before you take off, Ace, I got a special treat for anyone out there watching tonight. So we'll announce this a couple of times so we can give this away. But we actually came across some Damian Lillard posters, and
nice.
we have some in our inventory here, and we're looking to give them away. So here's what you got to do to win one of these. Again, simple stuff. Comment. Everyone's name that's in the comment section tonight will get put into a drawing. We'll pick out a name at the end of the night, and we will get your information and send you this Damian Lillard poster. How's that sound? Pretty easy, right?
Sounds amazing.
We'll announce it again and halfway through the show or something and get everyone in that drawing. So away we go.
All right. So we all know that we have some really good topics for tonight, like really, really amazing topics. And so our first topic, because everybody has seen for the last several days how the Houston Texans have decided to part ways with J.J. Watt, right? So there's a lot of speculation talking about where is J.J. Watt going to go? Is he going to go to Pittsburgh? Is he going to go to Green Bay? Who knows where exactly he's going to go? But our question is, since J.J. Watt was released from Houston upon his request, what does Houston do now? Where does Houston go from here? Do you actually see them trading Deshaun Watson? Because we know that Houston came out and said, no, we're not going to trade our quarterback. We don't want to. We're not going to. So, mess around. I'll start with you. Where does Houston go from here?
Look, I know that they say they're not going to trade Watson, but the further this goes along and it drags out and it gets into training camp, you get closer to the season, they're going to eventually trade him. They're going to have to because they got to get something for him, right? I mean, they can't have this mess going on any longer. So eventually they're going to trade him. They're probably going to trade him before the draft. I think he ends up going to maybe the Jets or the Broncos. Who knows where he goes? He's going to go somewhere. I don't think he's going to stay in Houston, though. They might as well just blow it all up.
Blow up Houston,
Trade
right?
everybody.
Blow them up.
Blow it up.
Blow it up. All right, so J-Mac, how about you tell me, what's Houston going to do?
Well, I heard someone say that they would consider trading him to Jacksonville for the first pick in the draft. I'm here to tell you, Jacksonville's not giving that pick up. I don't care what you're going to offer them. They're not. And on the Houston side, why would you trade a guy like Deshaun Watson to a team you're going to have to play twice? Like, you're not going to do that. I'm sorry. I know you guys probably agree with me on that, but you're not going to do it. So,
Nope.
no, they're not trading him there. They will have to trade him. I agree with you, mess around on that. I agree with you on that. They're going to have to trade him because, like you said, otherwise he's going to hold out. And then where are you? You're without a quarterback, and you're going to have to come up with a backup plan, and you got nothing for him. So think about that. Like, so you're going to have to trade him.
Right. So I saw this interesting trade scenario that they came up with because supposedly Russell Wilson is upset about Seattle and everything that's going on over there. So there was this really interesting trade scenario that came out and I don't know why this would ever happen, but this was coming from Nick Wright, the analyst of Nick Wright. He came out and messed around. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I saw it.
But Russell Wilson goes to the Jets, and then Deshaun Watson ends up with who was that? I think because
it was the Niners, wasn't it?
Yes, it was the Niners. Deshaun Watson ends up with the Niners because then Jimmy Garoppolo ends up in Seattle,
And with Nick Bosa.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not Seattle is not going to go from having a Russell Wilson to a Jimmy Garoppolo. And then number one, you're looking at Houston, and I completely agree. Even though Houston's saying, I'm not going to trade him, I mean, come on. You know he's going – at some point they're going to trade him because they have two options. Either you trade him, or if you decide to keep him, he's not playing. He already came out and said, if I stay with Houston, I'm not playing. I'm sitting out. So basically, Houston has two options. You either trade him or you got no quarterback anyway. So for me, Watson's going to go. It's just a matter of fact of where does he go. So with that, if Houston's in rebuild mode, like we're talking about how they released Watt and then they're going to end up trading Watson. But the question is, where do they go from here? What exactly do they do? Where do they start? Do they want to go out and try and land a free agent quarterback that you can maybe use for your future? Do you try and trade for a quarterback in the future? Do you go out and sign a bridge quarterback and try and get somebody in the draft? Or what exactly do you think they do? Because Houston has to make some kind of move. So what exactly does Houston do from here? What's their first move? And mess around. You tell me, what is their first move?
Obviously, the first move is going to find a place where they can get the best steal for Watson. Number one, I mean, there's so many rumors out there to multiple teams that are interested in him. So it just depends on what kind of deal they can get. I know they want 3 firsts and a couple players. There's also a rumor the Raiders are trying to trade Carr to get some first-round picks to get Watson. It's everywhere. We'll see when it happens. It's going to happen. I don't know where it's going to go, but who knows? Obviously, the first move is getting rid of Watson, trading him, finding the right package.
Makes sense. All right. J-Mac, what is their first move? What do you think they have to do first?
Well, I think first you have to stop living in fantasy land, and you have to stop being delusional. We have one of those on the network. We don't like those people, and you got to stop being delusional. You got to everything mess around said and more. Like, you're not going to have Deshaun Watson next year. You're just not going to. It's not going to happen, whether that's via trade or him sitting on the bench because he doesn't want to play for you and he's going to hold out. So the first thing you have to do is realize you're going to have to trade him. So that's your first move.
So let me ask you this. Where do you think this all started? Do you think this goes back as far as Bill O'Brien when he decided to trade away DeAndre Hopkins? Is that where you think this stemmed from? Because I heard multiple times that Deshaun Watson wanted to be involved in that GM search, and he wasn't involved in it. So he said that's what really made him upset. But me personally, I think it can go all the way back to when Bill O'Brien traded DeAndre Hopkins. I personally think that's when it started. So, mess around. What do you think?
I think it has a little bit to do with that, but I also think, like you said, it has to do with him not being involved with their hiring process as GM, and then they didn't go out and get the head coach he wanted. He wanted Bieniemy to come there, and they didn't do that. So it's a lot of things, really.
All right, J-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it had something to do with that, but I don't think that him and Bill O'Brien ever saw eye to eye anyway. So I think that was already a strained relationship. And, these days guys want to have something to say with the guys that are around them. It's just the way it is. We're no longer in a place where we're paying you to play, go out and play and keep your mouth shut. Like, we're not there anymore. And so, yes, it's at a point where that's definitely part of it. Is players want a little more, and because he's your franchise player. When you think of Houston Texans right now, who do you think of? Deshaun Watson. I mean, that's right. So if I'm that's the first person I think of, why shouldn't he have a say in who his wide receivers are or who they bring in at offensive coordinator? I mean, and I'm not saying they have to go with his ideas. That's not the issue. And I think a lot of people are misconstruing that as like we're giving players too much power. No, he's not even asking to be like the final decision on this. It's, hey, can you just inquire about this guy? We just inquire about this wide receiver and see what it takes. If we can sign him, great. If we can't, cool. But at least you listen to my idea. That's where I think we're at, and that's what I think needs to happen.
Yeah, so do you feel that players do have that right to be involved in the head coaching search and in the GM search and everything else? Do you personally feel like they have that right to be like, hey, I want to be involved? Can we put input into who's going to be our head coach? Or should it be like, you know what, you guys worry about playing the game and let the owner and GM take care of that?
Well, of course, I think that the players should have something to say. Again, he doesn't have to have the final say, but if you're interviewing, for instance, mess around, and you got a quarterback that's a gunslinger and he runs pass protection offense that runs the ball 65% of the time or 60% of the time, and I'm the quarterback, I want to tell you that that's not the coach I want on my team, because I want to be able to throw the ball. So I just think that they should have somewhat of a say or some kind of vote or something.
Messer, what do you think? Do you think that players should be able to be involved in that?
I'm with J-Mac on this. I think they should have a little bit of a say, but the final say shouldn't come down to them. They're paid to play the game. They're not paid to pick their coach. But they should definitely have a little bit of input as to what they're looking for in a coach. But, yeah, it should never come down to, hey, I want this coach or I'm not going to play for you. At that point, it's like, see you later, moving on. That's what Houston should do with Watson. Like, he doesn't want to be there, so get rid of him.
I completely agree with you on that one. So for our final thought here, J-Mac, I'm going to ask you, start with you on this. Where does Watson end?
I guess if I had to pick one team to look at that, I think he'll end up in New York with the Jets.
All right, mess around. Where does Watson end up?
The homer in me wants to say Chicago, but I'm a realist. We don't have the capital to get him or anything like that, so I think he's going to end up with the Niners.
Ooh. I keep thinking that he's going to end up with the Jets because he likes the coach up there. He likes Robert Saleh, like that. And I think Sam Darnold's going to be on the road.
I can see the Jets too. I mean, I don't know. Give me 12 teams on a board and I'll throw a dart, and that's, I don't know where he's going to go, honestly. Whatever the right deal they get, if they can get 3 first-rounders and two defensive players out of it, that's where he's going to go. They're just looking for that kind of deal.
All right. So moving on to our next topic after that one. Our next topic is NCAA women's team who we think is going to surprise teams out there. And this one I'll go ahead and say J-Mac.
Searching through all these teams this year, there's definitely been some surprises. So it's hard to maybe narrow it down to one. But you look at teams having a good record that maybe aren't in the top 25 that could still make some noise. For me, in women's basketball, that comes down to the Marquette Golden Eagles. At this point in the season, I mean, they are they're 14-4, they're 11-3 in conference. So, and then that's only behind DePaul, who has 2 losses, and of course UConn, who has 0 in the conference. So I think they're going to win that conference. And you look at their games coming up. I mean, they play UConn to end the year and DePaul. Those are going to be big games for them. But they got Villanova, who they should roll over, and Creighton, who they should beat. And that's going to put them right there to be into the tournament. And they'll probably be somewhere, I'll say a 5 or 6 seed is probably what they deserve. And, they just played well. And so I think that they'll be there. I mean, we could talk about players, or we can go into their streaks. So they've had 3 different streaks this year where they've won 3 or more games in a row. But again, they played so well, and they play as a team. They don't have one premier player. It's in my opinion, and they play as a team very, very well. So that's how I see it. Playing as a team kind of means more than having that one star player. That's usually what wins you games in the tournament. So my pick would be the Marquette Golden Eagles.
All right, and that's not a bad pick. I do like that pick, Marquette. Marquette's one of those teams that usually flies underneath the radar. So mess around, Dave. I'll go ahead and come with you next.
My pick is Dayton. They're 11-1 overall. They're 10-0 in the conference. They got a good rising player coming up, Gina Giacone. She's averaging 13.1 points per game, and she's averaging 18-1 since January 31st. Her last 2 consecutive games, she scored 20-plus points. She gets 4 rebounds per game. The 4-game span, she's 11-22 from three-point range. So I'm going to go with Dayton.
I like it. I like the pick. All right, so with me, my pick, and J-Mac, you might be a little bit surprised on this one too when I say this, but I actually went to the American East Conference. And the team that I'm talking about in the American East Conference, I'm actually talking about the Maine Black Bears. So when you look at the Maine Black Bears, they have been playing absolutely lights out. The one player that I feel like people are overlooking right now as one of the best players basically in college basketball for women is Blanca Malone. She has been absolutely dominating the whole league. And then also with Blanca Malone, don't forget that she makes an awesome duo with Ann Simmons. Now with Blanca Malone, this is the interesting part. When you look at Blanca, she's actually averaging 22.6 points a game. A game. That she has been tearing it up this whole year. On the offensive side, even on the defensive side, she's averaging 7.5 rebounds a game. So not only is she scoring points, but she's rebounding. And then you also have, like I was saying, with Ann Simmons, the interesting thing about her also is that she started slow, but now that it's later on in the season, she started to slowly pick it up again. And now she's there. She's about 13 points a game now, about 5 rebounds a game. So once this whole team comes together, this Maine Black Bears team is going to be really, really good. And they're going to surprise some people, but they're not ranked in the top 25. And that's because obviously it's the conference that they play in. So they're going to look at that and be like, they're not playing in a very good conference. So that's why we don't want to put them in the top 25. But if you look at the not the Pac-12, but the Big Ten. When you look at the Big Ten, they have like 5 or 6 teams that are in the top 25. So obviously that's the one conference that has been dominating this year. But I want people to start looking at this Maine Black Bears team and notice that they're 14-1 right now. 14-1. And I don't want you to look at the conference they play in. I don't want you to look at teams that they play in. I could care less. This is college basketball. This isn't college football. So when it comes to college basketball, it's a lot different. Now I know when it comes to that, people will be like, well, a 16 seed has only beaten a 1 seed once. I don't care. Anything can happen. So I'm telling you, watch out for this Maine Black Bears team because they are going to come out and they are going to surprise some people. Now, of their one loss, they only lost by 1. And then out of their other wins that they've had, only 3 of those games have been within 3 points or less. Every other game, they've beaten every other team by 10 or more points. And you want to talk about domination? This Maine Black Bears team is absolutely dominating. And Blanca Malone, whoo, boy, right now, man, she's looking good. And I think she's going to only get better and better and better. And she can lead this Maine Black Bears team into this bracket. And I think they actually win a couple games. So, J-Mac, I'll go to you and tell me, you have any final thoughts on this one?
That's a great pick. If I hadn't gone Marquette, I mean, I got to say they weren't my second pick, wasn't Maine, but they would have been in my top 5 for sure as far as picks on a team. And women's college basketball this year has been exciting. And anyone who hasn't watched it, you should go because it's been a great season to watch. And it always is. I mean, they can play just like the guys can, and sometimes it's more exciting to watch. So it's going to be great. NCAA tournament's going to be great all around because on the men's side, you got the 3 big schools that may not make the tournament for the first time ever, I believe. And so a lot of smaller schools will get in, and it's great. So definitely going to be a good March Madness this year.
Yeah, and I think people really overlook this women's side of college basketball. But when you look at that, like especially on the women's side, UConn on the women's side at that one point had one of the best college teams you'd ever see. They had all those consecutive wins, and you're like, man, are they going to ever lose? And man, when they lost, everyone's like, really? They actually ended up losing a game. Now, the interesting thing is we actually have a comment from Brandon Herrera that's asking about Lindsay Whalen, which Lindsay Whalen is actually the head coach of the Golden Gophers. And his question is she going to last until 2024? Whew. Well, I at this point, I would say no. I don't think she's going to last that long. What do you, J-Mac, what do you think? Do you think she's going to last that long?
Well, I guess the question for me is, should she last that long? Will she?
Well, if she's winning, yeah.
What's that?
If she's winning, yeah, she needs to. But right now, they're not. So
what? No, and I completely I know that. I understand that. But my point is should she? No, she shouldn't. But if they turn around and win, yeah, I could see her being there. I guess if a short answer would be no, she probably isn't going to make it to 2024.
All right, so mess around. What do you think? Do you think that she'll make it to 2024? And let's not forget that this Minnesota Golden Gophers team right now is 6-9, and they are 5-8 in conference play. So, does she make it to 2024?
Probably not. It depends on how they finish the year. If they finish strong and rebound and make the tournament, they make some noise there. Maybe, but I don't see it happening. She's probably gone after this year.
Oh, you're saying after this year, you're not giving her another year?
Nope.
Wow. J-Mac, how many more years do you give her? Do you say she's gone after this year?
No, I think they'll give her one more.
Well, it can't be any worse. Everybody knows right now that I'm actually a Wisconsin Badgers fan. Now, on the men's side basketball, I'm completely happy. On the women's side of Badgers, oh my God, it is horrific. I haven't seen us play that bad basketball in a very, very long time. We're 2-13 in conference play and 5-13 overall. So we're not going anywhere anytime soon. All right. Oh, hold on. We have a comment that said, let all the team in the tournament for both men and women. You can't let them all in. That would be a lot of teams.
God, that would take 2 months. That'd take a long time to play.
So I did read a topic that somebody was asking that said, when it comes to March Madness, do you guys like the rule of that it's basically one and done? Or should you have a couple chances? I
love the one and done. That I've loved that about March Madness forever, because it gives you a competitive edge. Like if you're a small school and you come out and you have just a great day and you're hitting all your shots and you're not turning the ball over and you're playing good defense, you can beat a big school on any day. Anything can happen. That's why it's the most exciting playoff in all of sports for me, is because of that reason. Like you get that one game just to beat that one school and you do it and you're remembered forever. Like that's what makes it so great. Don't change it. Please don't change it. Please.
All right, so mess around. What do you think? Do you like the one and done?
Well, they don't call it survive and advance for nothing.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I love college basketball. It's my favorite time of year. Survive and advance. Don't change a thing.
No, because when you look at when Virginia lost to that 16 seed, would they have actually moved on if Virginia would have been able to play them a couple more times? Absolutely. I think Virginia would have won the next two games or whatever, would have moved on. So the one and done scenario actually is not bad. That's actually a pretty good scenario when you look at it. So I completely agree. We stay with the one and done and go from there. So kudos to that. And hopefully maybe we'll see another upset this season of a 16 beating a 1 seed. Maybe we'll see it again. All right. So now going on to our next topic, kind of an interesting topic. It's not one that a lot of people talk about, but when you look at boxing right now, boxing is not anywhere near where it used to be. You used to have a lot of big-time boxers, a lot of big names. Now you don't have much. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start out with Mess Around Dave on this one. So Mess Around, tell me, can boxing be saved? Can they save boxing?
I don't think so. I mean, you got one guy at the top of the food chain, Tyson Fury, and then there's everybody else. It's not like when I was a kid and you had Tyson, the Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, guys like that just carried the sport. Boxing's really gone downhill. I mean, there's, like I said, only one guy, Tyson Fury, and then you got everybody else. So unless they can come up with some coming young guys to save the sport, I don't see it.
Well, let's say Mayweather wouldn't have retired. You would have had Mayweather. You would have had a Tyson Fury. You would have had Manny Pacquiao. So you would have had three relatively good names there, but would that have been enough to save boxing? Maybe. I don't know. So, J-Mac, what do you think? Can boxing be saved?
No. I think that – I mean, let's look at it this way. The popularity is down. Now, is it ever going to be as popular as like when Messed Around was saying when we were kids and you had Tyson and Holyfield and help me out, Lennox Lewis, Sugar Ray Leonard. You had all these guys when we were kids that any of them could put up a good fight. It's not going to be that popular again. It's just not. So can you save it to a point where it's going to be as popular as it once was? No. I think you could maybe make it, a mediocre sport. Someone watches a pay-per-view, pays for that once in a while. But, I don't think it's going to ever be as popular as it once was.
So when I look at that, the big thing is that's why they wanted to have that Mike Tyson return match, because they're trying to draw boxing fans back in, and they're trying to show them, hey, let's make boxing great again. But what's really happened in the term of boxing is really you have to look at like UFC and Bellator and all that. That has really taken over and become the prime thing over boxing. And so at this point in time, it's going to be extremely tough to save boxing. Can it be done? I don't know. You're going to need another Mike Tyson type. That's what you're going to need. And are we going to see it? I don't know. I truly don't know. So, Mess Around, I'm going to ask you this. Do you kind of blame UFC and Bellator for basically destroying boxing at this point?
Mixed martial arts came on the scene, UFC came on the scene. They really did take a lot away from boxing. I mean, UFC is at such a high point right now. It's like you mix martial arts and then there's boxing. That's just – they've taken a lot away from boxing. And a lot of that has to do with there not being many superstars in boxing right now that can carry it besides Tyson Fury. So, yeah, I do blame the UFC and Bellator for, boxing not being what it was.
No, the only really up and comer that I would say right now in boxing, there's one boxer right now that is undefeated right now. He hasn't been beaten yet. His name is actually Gervonta Davis, but he's still young. So he has a little bit more to show. He's only been in 23 fights. So maybe if you see him a little bit more, he can help build boxing back up. I don't know. But J-Mac, in your opinion, was it the mixed martial arts style that has come out and really killed boxing?
Sorry, I had my mic off. Yeah, I do think it is. I think that has a lot to do with it because now people are like, oh, yeah, it's cool. You can hit people with your fists, but can you kick them as well? Can you make them submit? And then that's what we see in the MMA. And, yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it for sure. Boxing's going to have to come up with something, I have to come up with something to make it be watched again, make it be popular, make people draw into the sport.
So Tim Fielder's saying keep Snoop Dogg as commentator and he'll watch it. You'd watch it because of commentating. Oh, goodness. But do you guys think that Mayweather at some point will come back? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know if he'll ever come back. Does he have anything to prove at this point? I don't think so. I don't think.
Would you like to see? Let me ask you this: would you like to see Mayweather versus Mike Tyson?
Yeah, but Tyson's like 55 or something now. I don't know that that'd be a fair fight. Would I love to see it in both of their primes? Oh, yeah, I think that's the one fight everyone would pay to see if you could make that happen.
Mess around. What do you think?
Gosh, I think Mayweather's done. Like J-Mac said, he has nothing to prove. He retired undefeated. The only way he comes back is if he can get another big money fight like he did with McGregor.
Yeah, but I'm saying though, do you think he would come back if they said, "Hey, we'll put you in this match against Mike Tyson"? You think he would come back and do it?
No, I don't think he would because, like J-Mac said, Tyson's in his 50s. Mayweather's still young for the sport of boxing, and I don't know. I'd like to see the power versus the speed of Mayweather. If he gets caught one time by Tyson's punch, it could be lights out. I'd love to see that fight.
I think it'd be a big draw. I really think it would because all you would have is the name of Mike Tyson against the name of Mayweather, and you could have that draw. I think that it would make a big draw, and I do understand, Tim, that the weight classes are different. I completely understand that, but I still think that it would still be a good fight. I would love to see that. I think that would be awesome. Maybe that would be one way that Mayweather would come back at. Or personally, would you guys like to see another Mayweather versus Conor McGregor? Is that something else? Mayweather versus Conor McGregor 2.0.
No, we already saw it once. It wasn't that great of a fight. The only way I'd want to see it again is if they went into McGregor's world and fought in the cage.
Yeah. So, J-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that if it was not or exactly what Messaround said, if it was in McGregor's world and not in Mayweather's world, sure, but no, I don't want to see that boring match again.
Not again. No, because he cannot, let's say this, Conor McGregor cannot hold up in a boxing ring with Mayweather. There's no way. I understand that McGregor comes from cage fighting, but it's not the same, because in cage fighting you can kick, you can use elbows and everything else. You can't do that in boxing. You can't do it. You have to use straight up fists and fast punches, and that's what Mayweather has, and that's not something that Conor McGregor can do. Should that fight have lasted as long as it did when they first did it? No, I really don't think it should have, because I personally thought that Mayweather had him knocked out a few times, but the ref kept saying, all right, he's back up. Let's keep it going. I was like, you got to be kidding me. No way. All right, so is there any final thoughts on the topic of boxing? Nope. Okay.
No.
So now we'll go into our next topic, which this is kind of an interesting topic. And the reason I did this one is because we've been talking about various athletes around the world and various sports, and everybody knows on Sportsminute we basically do every sport. You know, we talk about golf, tennis, NASCAR, everything. So with that, the next topic was, who would you put as the top 5 greatest athletes of all time? Now, I know this one would probably be – this, to me, was actually an extremely difficult category because how are you doing it? You know, are you basing it off of championships? Are you basing it off of accomplishments? Are you basing it off of simply talent? What are you basing it off of to put them as the top 5 greatest athlete of all time? So, J-Mac, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. What is your top 5 list?
And like you said, it's tough. So I'm personally, I'm saying whatever your guys' top 5 is, I'm not going to argue with any of your picks, because how can you narrow it down and say that your 5 isn't any better than my 5 or better than Mess Around's 5? So it's going to be tough. And whatever you guys pick, it just is what it is. So my top 5, and I struggled with this. You should see my notepad. I have names written and then scratched out and then written another name and scratched out. And yeah, it was crazy. But number 5 to me is Steffi Graf. Just, you could say whatever you want, all the accolades, she dominated her sport at the time that she played it. And to me, that's a top athlete ever. So she's number 5 for me. Number 4, the only person I consider a GOAT in the history of sports, Wayne Gretzky.
So I was just going to ask you a question about that. About that. So you had Gretzky, and I'm not disputing your list in any way. I'm just saying that we've said multiple times that the only actual true GOAT ever was Wayne Gretzky. He's the actual one true GOAT. So my question is, how'd you put him at number 4 if he's that one true GOAT?
See, I'll explain that. Had I gone 2 more sentences before you asked me that question, I would have explained why. Gretzky is the only true GOAT to me until I started looking at other sports for athletes all time. Now there's 2 in my book, and they are not 1 and 2. And the only reason is because Gretzky only played 1 sport. So let me say that first off. He only played 1 sport. That's what put him at 4, even though he is a true GOAT. So Gretzky's at 4. Number 3, Deion Sanders will always be in my top 5 because he's the only guy to ever play in a Super Bowl and a World Series. And he scored a touchdown and hit a home run in the same week. Name another athlete that could do that. There probably isn't one, to be honest. That's a very difficult thing to do. It's very, very hard to hit a home run in the major leagues, first off. And he did it, and he scored a touchdown 2 days before that. So he's number 3. Number 2, Bo Jackson. Because Bo Jackson would have been the GOAT if he doesn't get hurt. He would have been the greatest football player in the history of the universe if he doesn't get hurt and go down. And I stand by that. I don't think there's any question that he would have been. Number 1. Now, this is the other one that I found that's a true GOAT. And so for all the Facebook land where I said that there's not another true GOAT, I apologize, because there is. And number 1 is Michael Phelps. How do you not have a guy who has won more medals than anyone else in any Olympian in history other than Michael Phelps? Michael Phelps is a true GOAT. There'll be no one that touches him in swimming ever, and never have, never will, in my opinion. Michael Phelps is the greatest athlete ever because he does. Say what you want about water, but imagine all the hours he took swimming. I'm just saying that's insane. So Michael Phelps is the greatest athlete of all time.
All right. Mess Around Dave, what do you got?
So for my number 5, I went with Hulk Hogan. I know wrestling scripted and fake and whatnot, whatever. But without Hulk Hogan, wrestling wouldn't be where it is today. So I went with him. And then number 4, I went with Mike Tyson because he was so dominant back when in the early 90s. And then Tiger Woods. And I got LeBron James, and Michael Jordan is my number 1.
All right, so let me ask you one quick question about your top 5 list here, and I'm not disputing it because it's a good top 5, but my question was that when you came to it, I'm trying to remember which one. Can you give me your list one more time, and I'll tell you which one I was thinking about.
Okay. Hulk Hogan was number 5.
Okay.
Mike Tyson was 4.
Okay, yes, it was number 4. Okay, so I know that Mike Tyson dominated boxing. Okay, I know he did. But right now, would you take, in their prime, would you take Muhammad Ali or would you take Mike Tyson?
In their prime? Gosh,
In
that's
their prime.
tough. I would have to take Tyson because I grew up watching him. I didn't really know a whole lot about Ali besides what I read in highlights. For me, I'd go with Mike Tyson over Ali just because of that reason alone.
Wow, that well, and that was the only reason I asked you is because when you look at boxing and people talk about, who's the true GOAT in boxing, a lot of people will tell you it's Muhammad Ali, because everybody will say that Muhammad Ali is the one that put boxing, so to say, on the map. So to say, that's what they say. So actually, when you look at my top 5 list, it's kind of funny that you said Mike Tyson. And that was the reason I asked you, is because my number 5 was actually Muhammad Ali. I actually put him on that list because of what he did for boxing, actually. And then number 4, now, J-Mac, you put Steffi Graf. Excellent pick on that one too. But I actually went the other route, and I actually put Serena Williams. And the only reason I put Serena Williams is because of what she has done for the sport of tennis. Like right now, she has basically brought it to a whole new level. She has skyrocketed tennis. She's out there at 39 years old, coming in ranked number 10, and she's still winning. And the thing is, what really impressed me about Serena Williams the most is that she was able to win a tennis tournament while being pregnant. I think that to me, I'm like, that takes heart, that takes passion, that takes skill. So everything that Serena Williams has accomplished, I have to put her in that top 5.
And again, I'm not disputing your pick because it's a great pick, and I'm not here to do that. I just have one question.
Yeah.
That's it. Who has she had to face that was as good as her in her day? Now, my only question between Serena Williams and Steffi Graf. Steffi Graf had at the tail end of their careers in Navratilova and Everett and Martina Hingis and Jennifer Capriati and all these guys that were on her talent level. And then that was it. That's the only reason she was in my top 5. And I'm not saying your pick is wrong because it's not at all. But that was my only question is Serena Williams is dominated because no one's been as good as her during their time.
Well, because
great pick, by the way. Great pick at number 4.
She's had to she's had to bring basically tennis back from the dead. And so that's pretty much what it was.
Right. Because you're right. You're right. And that's why your 4 pick is great with Serena Williams, because that was my point is Steffi Graf was at a time where there was all of these premier female tennis players, all of them at the same time, and she was the best of all of them. Serena Williams has been the best and is the best and has been the best for years because no one can touch her. So she's had to single-handedly bring it up, and I agree with that pick 100%.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, around this era that it's been right now, I'd say from the late 90s up until now, I say it's Serena Williams, and it's not even close. Like, that's been my thing. From the late 90s to now, it's not even close. It's Serena Williams, and it's like that would not be something. If somebody came on right now and tried to give me another name from the late 90s to right now of who dominated tennis, I'd be like, you can't give me another name. It's Serena Williams. Now, back then, yeah, you could give me names like Steffi Graf and Everett and players like that. But right now, you can't give me any names. You just can't. The only person, and I kind of feel sorry for Venus in a way because she's kind of been overshadowed by Serena. You know,
I mean, in a way, yeah, I would say singles she has, but if you go to the doubles side of things, those two have dominated together for years. And
oh,
trust
absolutely.
me, Venus does not at all fall underneath Serena when it comes to doubles because those two together, I'm sure they're doing just fine, by the way. I'm sure they get along great with all the doubles titles that they've won. So, yeah, singles, of course, but not in doubles.
No, and I completely agree with you on the doubles thing because when they are paired together, they dominate. But when it's single individually, you're looking at Serena versus Venus, and that's why I'm saying I would feel bad for Venus because it's not even really a competition. Like Serena just dominates. That's pretty much what it is. The other day she started slow. I was watching the Australian Open, and she started slow, and I was like, crap, it's going to come true. She's going to learn. She's going to lose to Potapova exactly like I said because she's 19. She's quick. And then what does Serena Williams do? She does GOAT things, and she comes right back and starts rallying back, and she comes back and beats her in 3 straight sets. And I'm like, that's Serena Williams. She starts slow, and then she comes right back. Just when you think you have her, she's like, nope. I'm not dead. I'm coming right back, and I'm going to beat you. And I was really, really impressed at 39 years old, and she's able to go out and do that. I don't know how many more years Serena Williams has left, but I'm enjoying what she's doing right now, and I wish her the best of luck, especially at the age of 39.
Yeah, because let me say, like I know Mess Around's a few years older than I am. He's in his 40s, but I'm going to tell you, at 36, watching that 39-year-old run around and run back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then I get tired sitting on the couch watching it. And I'm like, how do you do that at 39? Because I don't want to do it at 36.
No, but I will say this, though. At the age of 39, even as much as she's dominating, I will say that there are a few times that Potapova and that game had volleyed a ball, and as soon as I saw it, I'm like, well, that's normally a play that Serena Williams would make, and she didn't really try for it because I think she knows she's starting to get up there in age and she can't get to him like she used to. But I'm like, those are things that she would get to with no problem. So I think she realizes that she's getting to that age. She's starting to slow down now. All right, so now we'll go into number 3. Number 3 on my list was Tiger Woods, and I know Tiger Woods has gotten a lot of flack because of basically what he's done outside of golf, but I can't put that into perspective. I'm not going to look at that and take that away from him because everything he accomplished on the golf course was simply amazing. I mean, he tore his ACL and still won a tournament with a torn ACL.
Can I just – I'm not going to go real long on this. I just want to comment one thing about what you said.
Yeah.
Yes, Tiger Woods has faced adversity because he cheated on his wife. Let's not forget that. He didn't beat her. He didn't use performance-enhancing drugs. He wasn't a drug addict. He wasn't an alcoholic. He cheated on his wife and he got caught. And everyone's like, oh, my God, he's such a bad guy. We got guys in the NFL that have killed people from drunk driving. They get a year suspension and they're back in the league. Like, are you kidding me? We got guys that are kicking their girlfriends in an elevator with in a video, and it's seen, and they're back in the NFL a year later. Tiger Woods cheated on his wife. He made a mistake. Multiple mistakes, doesn't matter. My point is he made a bad judgment at that time.
Yeah,
the guy, you can't take that. It makes me mad when people bring that up about Tiger Woods because he's not Lance Armstrong. He didn't dope his way to 7 titles.
Right, he didn't. No.
He's not guys that kicked his girlfriend in the elevator. Like, come on. He cheated on his wife. I'm not saying that's a good thing. But he made a mistake.
He did. And the interesting thing is, too, is like when there's fans that when these other players, like in the NFL and basketball and baseball, make a mistake, that they're like, oh, I want this guy back. He messed up once. Well, then Tiger Woods did that, and, man, people just jumped on Tiger Woods like crazy and was like, oh man, this guy's a bad guy. Why is he back out there on the golf course. I'm like, well, you do realize that you wanted this guy back. You wanted Josh Gordon back, who's been in trouble so many times in the NFL for performing enhancing drugs and everything else. And you're okay with him coming back in. And then you have Kareem Hunt and Ray Rice that Baltimore fans were like, it'd be nice to have Ray Rice back. You're willing to have huh?
Let's not forget about Michael Vick and the dogfighting thing.
Yeah, and people wanted Mike Vick back. But then you look at Tiger Woods, and they're saying he doesn't belong on a golf course because of what he did. That is complete and utter ridiculous.
I'm sorry, but think about this for a second, guys. Like, I don't care. We're all in committed relationships, 100% guaranteed, right? If we were the number one golfer in the world, okay, and some woman walks up to us and says, hey, she'll never find out. Let's go back to my hotel room. Are you going to say yes or are you going to say no? I'm sorry. But you know why we don't know that? Because we're never going to be the number one golfer in the world. But would you be tempted? I mean, probably. Let's just face it.
To be perfectly honest, I'm probably not even in the top 50 million in golfing right now. I'm not even the top 50 million. So it doesn't even matter at that point because I'll never even achieve that far up there. All right, so that was Tiger Woods at number 3. And then number 2, that's right. We call him the great one. We call him Wayne Gretzky. And you have to put him out there because when you look at hockey, I've always said this. I hate the GOAT talk. I really, really do because of the different eras that there was in every single sport. And it's hard to say how this person would do in this era, how this person would do in this era, whatever. That's why that GOAT talk is so hard. But when you look at hockey, it's not even close. It goes from Gretzky and then way down here. And it's not close. So he's like that true GOAT that you can look at that say he dominated hockey. And is anybody going to ever achieve what he's done?
No.
I don't even think so.
Mess around, let me ask you a question. I'm sure you've heard this before, but let me ask you a question, mess around. If you played a sport and you were considered the greatest ever because of your goals and assists, right? And then you take your goals away and you still have scored the most points in the history of your sport, shouldn't you be considered the greatest of all time? I mean, the guy could have never scored a goal and would still be number one all time in points scored.
Without a doubt, without question, he's the GOAT for like any sport. Like he's the only one you really call a GOAT for their sport.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so hard. And so that's why I actually wanted to put Gretzky at number 1. I really, really wanted to, but I kept him at number 2 because my number 1, I couldn't make a clear decision. And that was, and I actually looked at the NBA side of things on this one. And this one to me was really, really tough. And it came between Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I could not decide which one I wanted to put in there because when you look at Michael Jordan's game and Kobe's game, they were almost one and the same. Because Kobe basically learned so much stuff from Michael Jordan. But then you had Michael Jordan that came out and said, if there was somebody in the history of NBA that could beat me in a one-on-one game, it'd be Kobe Bryant. And so for me, it was so hard to say which one was 1, which one was 2. I know everything that Jordan achieved in the 90s. And you always hear about this with Jordan. You always hear, yeah, but look at the team around Michael Jordan. He had so many guys around him. But that to me doesn't matter. What they did in the 90s as a three-peat and then taking that break and then coming back as a three-peat again because he left the game. So let me tell you something. Doesn't that show you something? If they win a three-peat, he takes a year and a half off. They don't win, and then he comes back and they do a three-peat again. Does that really show you how good of a player he was? To me personally, yes, that does. So I had to put him up there. He never went to a Game 7 in an NBA Finals. When he was there, he dominated the game. And then you can look at Kobe Bryant and realize that him and Shaq split because Kobe wanted to prove to people that he could do it on his own. They split up, and he won a championship on his own. So to me, this was really, really hard. I had to go with MJ and Kobe, basically at 1A and 1B in no order. I don't know at that point. But those two were, to me, the greatest athletes of all time. Like I said, our list was gonna be hard. Our list was gonna be really, really hard. And it's hard to really dispute anybody's list at that point. So is there any final thoughts on that one? Mess around, I'll start with you. Any final thoughts on anybody's top 5 list that you've heard?
No, I liked everybody's list was pretty good. I thought, could you imagine if Jordan wouldn't have taken that time off? They would have won, what, 8 straight?
They probably would have won 8 straight. 8 straight.
Well, and by the way, I know you're a Chicago Bulls fan, so I'm sure you watched The Last Dance, right? I even watched it, and I'm not a Chicago Bulls fan, but the most amazing thing to me was they only stopped winning championships and dismantled that team because of the GM and Jerry Krause. Mm-hmm. Because MJ even says on there, I could have talked Pippen back to win 7 and 9. We could have went 7 championships in 9 years because I could have got him back if you would have let me. But you didn't let me do it. And so think about that. If they could have kept that team together, who knows how many championships they would have won in a row.
They earned, to me personally, they earned that right to stay together until they lost. That was their right to be like, we're going to stay as this team. We're going to stay a whole until we lose. And right now, we haven't lost yet, so we have to lose before you dismantle our team. So, J-Mac, I'm going to go to you. Do you have anything else you need to say about any of the top 5 lists?
No, I'm going to save it for Friday on What the Puck. Pay attention to that because I got a lot to say about the one GOAT of all time. So watch us on Friday for that because that'll be a rant for sure.
A rant. So tonight, we haven't really been able to do our GM game very much because we haven't really had a lot of people. The Vic is out again tonight because she is sick. So hopefully she will be back and be healthy soon again so she can come back on Sports Minute. We all miss her here on Sports Minute. And with that, we're just going to do, last time we did NFL trivia. And so this time I figured we'd try and do like maybe a little bit of a little bit of baseball trivia here. And let's see.
Thank goodness you didn't say basketball because I was about to walk off.
All right, so no. So J-Mac won the last round when he went against Mess Around Dave. So you get the first choice this time. Do you want the first question or do you want Mess Around to go first?
He's going first, whichever side he's on. This side.
Taking Mess Around. Okay, so Mess Around.
Okay.
Who won the 2012 World Series?
It's Phillies?
No, that is not right. J-Mac, you have a chance to steal?
2012. Well, let's see. They only did the odd season, so even seasons it would have been.
Oh God!
I'll go with. I will go with the. I don't know.
All right, so he has no idea, but the correct answer was actually the San Francisco Giants.
I knew that too. I was calculating that in my brain, trying to remember what years, as they won it like one off, one on, one off, one on.
All right, so J-Mac, your question is this. All right, what occurred on opening day in 2017 that had never happened before on opening day?
I have no idea who it was or anything. But I will say someone threw a no-hitter.
That is not correct. So that was not correct. So mess around. What do you think it could be?
I'm just gonna guess here. Somebody hit for the cycle.
No, it did involve hitting, but the correct answer was a pitcher hit 2 home runs, and it was Madison Bumgarner in 2000
I knew it.
that hit 2 home runs on opening day. All right, so now this question comes to mess around Dave. And in the 2010s decade, who was the first player to win the league MVP and a Cy Young Award in the same season in the National League?
Doc Holliday.
No, that is not correct.
National
J-Mac, what do you think the answer is?
National League, you said, right?
Yeah.
I knew it.
God, what's his name? I could see his face. Oh. I'm gonna say Strasburg because I'm blanking on who the guy.
And that's actually not the correct answer. The correct answer is Clayton Kershaw.
That was hit. God dang it.
Oh my goodness.
That was the correct answer. So who got what was that, Dave's question?
Yeah,
Yes, that was Dave's
yeah.
question. So J-Mac, and right now we're sitting there. We're sitting at 0-0. And so J-Mac's question is, in the 2000s decade, which team other than the Yankees won 2 World Series?
The 2000s decade?
Yeah, so that would have been from like 2000 to 2010.
The Angels.
And that is not the correct answer. So, mess around. What do you?
It's the Red Sox.
That is correct. It is the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, I'm on the board.
Mess around. Dave is on the board. Okay. So, Dave, now this question comes to you. Who was the first to win 4 Manager of the Year awards? Who was the very first manager to do it?
Lou Piniella.
No.
I'll go Tommy Lasorda.
No. So the correct answer was actually Tony La Russa.
That was my other answer too. I swear it was. I was like, it's got to be La Russa, but yeah, I didn't say it. So
I didn't even think about him.
All right, so this one goes to, I believe it's J-Mac's question now. Yes. All right, so, okay. Yankee pitcher Don Larson threw a perfect game in the 1956 World Series against the Dodgers. How many times did Larson take a Dodger batter to a full count during the game?
I feel like this one's not too easy, so you don't want to go with an easy answer. I'll say 3.
No, that is not correct. All right, mess around.
0.
That is not correct. That is not correct either. The correct answer is 1. That is the correct answer.
That was close.
All right. So, all right, mess around. This comes to you. Which Hall of Fame umpire was nicknamed Jocko?
I don't know any umpires' names. I don't know. Fast.
That's okay. J-Mac, any guesses?
The only umpire I even know that I remembered his name was Jerry West.
And that's not correct And that's not correct either. The answer was John Conlon was actually the correct
Cool.
answer on that one. Yep. All right. So what?
I don't know
Yeah.
who that is.
All right. So J-Mac, in the 100 years of MLB baseball throughout the entire 20th century, how many umpires were inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame?
1.
And that is not correct.
How many were inducted in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
0.
No, the correct answer is actually 8.
Really?
Yeah, 8.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, jeez. 8.
All right, so mess around. This is your question. This will be the final round of questions, and right now it's 1-0 mess around. All right, so your question is, Cleveland Indians Satchel Paige became the first African-American to pitch in a major league game in July 1948. He faced the Chicago White Sox in his first completed game start in August 1948. What was the outcome of the game?
The Indians won 1-0.
No. J-Mac?
The White Sox won 2-1.
No, so Page threw a 5-0 shutout against the White Sox.
I had the shutout part right. I said 1-0.
Right? All right. So this one comes to J-Mac. Your final question to try and tie mess around Dave. Which Major League Baseball team finished the 2014 season with the worst record?
2014. The Baltimore Orioles.
That is not correct. But mess around, you still have a chance.
I want to say the Florida Marlins.
No, the correct answer is actually the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks finished a dismal 64-98 under manager Kirk Gibson. So, J-Mac ended up winning the NFL one. It was 6-4, I do believe in that one. And then we come to MLB, and the final score and 5 rounds each was 1-0. That was the final round in this one.
Well, those are some tough questions, though. Like, who knows that stuff?
Right.
You threw a 1-0 no hitter in that one.
Right, a 1-0 no hitter. So now we're back at 1. So now it's 1-1. Mess around has managed to tie these at 1-1. All right. So before we call it,
next time, J-Max can wipe me out.
huh?
If we ever do a hockey one, I'm gonna lose that one probably 10-0 or 5-0.
Right. All right. So with that, J-Mac, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to say whatever it is left you have to say.
Well, Brandon was in the comments tonight. Brandon's part of the network, so I don't know. I'll have to check the legalities on the Lillard poster, but a couple other people. So we'll get that information out to you guys soon. We'll post it on our page and get you that. Other than that, I got to tell you that we thanks for you watching the Sports Minute tonight. Don't forget that Friday we do What the Puck. Yes, you heard me right. What the Puck is our hockey show. It stars Ace and myself, and we had Greg on there last time. Maybe we'll have him again. Maybe another surprise guest. So thanks for watching. Y'all have a good night.
And mess around, Dave. You got 30 seconds. What else you want to say?
Thanks for having me on tonight, and thanks for watching, everybody. And the next time we'll be on Between the Ropes, and we have a special show, 90s Attitude Era. So look out for that tomorrow night at 9.
Yes, and speaking of that too, is that coming up very, very soon on another episode of Between the Ropes. We actually have we're going to have another special guest. And this was actually a wrestler who was actually inducted into the Iowa Hall of Fame. And so, yes, tomorrow night we are having a throwback to the 90s, which means if J-Mac would like to come on that show, you are more than welcome to, because it's that throwback to the 90s show.
I will let you know on that. I appreciate the invitation. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, so I'm not going to guarantee that one. And I do work really early Monday morning. But if I happen to catch a minute, absolutely, I will be on.
All right. So that being said, I really hope everybody has a fantastic night, and we will see you tomorrow. And of course, Wednesday, we'll see you for another episode of Sports Minute. So everybody have a fantastic night, and we will see you again.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, copies, never the same.